Unveiling the secrets behind the Galactic Empire's power. Prologue. For over 1,000 cycles, the Galactic Empire had ruled with absolute dominance. Its fleets spanned the cosmos, its armies crushed rebellions before they could begin, and its economy thrived on the relentless exploitation of countless worlds. To outsiders, the Empire's power seemed unassailable, an immovable monolith of control, technology, and strategy. But power, true power, is never what it appears to be. It is never just military might, economic superiority, or political cunning. There are always deeper currents, hidden truths buried beneath layers of deception. And those truths were about to be exposed. The scholar's pursuit. Elias Kale was not a warrior. He was not a revolutionary. He was a historian, a scholar of forgotten truths. When he first began his research on the origins of the Empire's power, he expected to find records of tactical brilliance, technological supremacy, or economic genius. What he found instead terrified him. Buried beneath layers of classified data and erased archives was something that should not exist. A single phrase, repeated over centuries, whispered in the darkest corners of the Empire's records. The Crucible Protocol. No historian had ever mentioned it. No record explained what it was. And those who had inquired before him had vanished. But Elias was not deterred. The shadow operative. Elias's search led him to the one person who could uncover the truth, a rogue intelligence officer named Seraph Vale. A former operative of the Imperial Inquisition, Seraph had spent years in exile after betraying the Empire during the Sarkin rebellions. Meeting her was not easy. Convincing her to help was even harder. The Crucible Protocol. Seraph's voice was quiet, her cybernetic eye flickering. "You don't want to dig into that." "I already have," Elias countered. "And now I need to know the rest." She studied him for a long moment, then exhaled. "You're playing a dangerous game, scholar. But if you want to know the truth, follow me." The genesis of power. Seraph led Elias deep into the underbelly of a forgotten moon, where old imperial databanks lay abandoned. Hacking through their decayed security, she unearthed files that had been hidden for over 1,000 years. And what they revealed shattered everything Elias thought he knew. The Galactic Empire's power did not come from superior technology. It did not come from military strategy or economic control. It came from something much darker. The Crucible Protocol. The files detailed a ritual, a program enacted in the earliest days of the Empire's formation. Entire planets had been sacrificed, not in war, but in something far worse. The Crucible Protocol was a process of controlled annihilation, where billions were culled to forge an elite ruling class. But it wasn't just mass murder. The data suggested something even more horrifying. The deaths of these worlds generated an unknown form of energy. And that energy was the source of the Empire's true power. Elias felt his stomach churn. They weren't just erasing civilizations. They were harvesting them, Seraph finished. The living engine. The deeper they dug, the more monstrous the truth became. The Empire had discovered that mass suffering, synchronized death on a planetary scale, produced an exotic energy field unlike anything else in existence. This energy was neither science nor magic but something in between. It allowed the Empire's ships to move faster than light, their weapons to strike with unmatched precision, and their leaders to live far beyond their natural lifespans. And at the heart of it all was the living engine. Somewhere, hidden beyond even the Empire's core worlds, was a construct built from the remains of the sacrificed civilizations. It was not a machine in the traditional sense. It was a conscious, tormented entity, eternally suffering to fuel the Empire's dominion. The cost of truth. Elias and Seraph had uncovered the single greatest secret in history. But now, the Inquisition knew they had it. The Empire could not allow the truth to escape. As the alarms blared in the abandoned databank, Seraph grabbed Elias's arm. Run! They barely escaped the moon, pursued by Imperial assassins. The truth had been uncovered, but now they had to survive long enough to expose it. The Awakening. Hunted across the galaxy, Elias and Seraph had one final, desperate plan. If they could reach the heart of the Empire, the living engine itself, they could set it free. They could break the cycle of suffering that had fueled the Empire's rule. But no one knew what would happen if they did. Would the Empire crumble? Would the universe itself be torn apart? There was only one way to find out. And as their stolen ship hurtled toward the most forbidden place in existence, Elias Kale realized the truth of power. It is not given, it is not earned, it is taken, and it is always paid for in blood. Epilogue. The first crack in the Empire. The Empire had reigned for 1,000 years. It had withstood wars, rebellions, and countless challenges. But no empire lasts forever. And on the day Elias and Seraph reached the living engine, the first crack in the monolith appeared. And the galaxy would never be the same again. The Forbidden Archive. The Galactic Empire was not merely the largest dominion in the known universe, it was an unstoppable force that had endured for millennia, unshaken by rebellions, alien coalitions, or even the passage of time. The secret to its power was not just its military might or political cunning. No, its true strength was hidden deep within the heart of the Imperial Citadel on Valkaris Prime, locked away in a vault that only a handful of people in history had ever seen, the Codex Imperialis. This vault held the Empire's greatest secrets, technologies beyond comprehension, ancient artifacts of unknown origin, and the true history of how the Empire came to be. It was said that even the Emperor himself did not have complete access. Only the keepers of the vault, a clandestine order known as the Veiled Scribes, guarded its contents. But one man would defy them all. The Scholar's Gamble. Professor Elias Vance was a historian, but more importantly, he was a heretic in the eyes of the Empire. He did not believe the official accounts of history, the stories of noble emperors and righteous conquests. He knew something darker lurked beneath the surface, and for decades, he had searched for evidence. When whispers of the Codex Imperialis reached him, he knew it was his chance. With the help of an underground resistance movement, he infiltrated Valkaris Prime under a false identity, slipping past the layers of security to reach the capital's grand archives. But as he delved deeper into the classified records, he discovered something terrifying, something that changed everything. The Empire's power was not merely derived from conquest or technological supremacy. It was stolen. The first empire. The Galactic Empire had not been the first great civilization. Long before humanity reached the stars, before even the oldest alien empires recorded history, there had been another power, the primordial sovereignty. This ancient empire was not ruled by mortals, but by entities far beyond human understanding, beings that transcended flesh and time. They had built machines that could alter reality, manipulate consciousness, and bend entire planets to their will. And then, suddenly, they vanished. The records Elias found described an event called the Banishment, where the primordial sovereignty was erased from existence in an instant. The remnants of their civilization, including their godlike technology, had been buried across the stars. The Galactic Empire's first rulers had not built their empire from scratch. They had scavenged it from the ruins of the primordials, reverse engineering what little they could understand and hoarding the rest. The Codex Imperialis was not just a record, it was a manual. It contained instructions for wielding stolen power, for binding what should never have been bound. The Emperor's bargain. Elias's discovery did not go unnoticed. The moment he accessed the deepest vaults, alarms blared across the grand archives. Imperial enforcers swarmed the halls, and the veiled scribes descended upon him with an unnatural presence, figures cloaked in robes that shimmered like liquid darkness, their faces obscured by shifting voids. But before he was executed, he was brought before the emperor himself. Emperor Varian IX was no mere man. His presence was suffocating, his eyes carrying the weight of centuries. Elias realized the truth. The emperor had lived far longer than any human should. "You've seen what should never be seen," the emperor said. "And now you must understand the burden I carry." He revealed that the primordial sovereignty had not truly vanished. They had been sealed, trapped in the very foundation of the Galactic Empire, their essence siphoned to power its great fleets, its unbreakable laws, and its unwavering dominion over all. "The Empire endures because it feeds on the imprisoned," the emperor admitted. "And I am the warden. If the Empire ever fell, the primordials would return." A terrible choice. Elias was given a choice. 1. Join the Empire, become a secret keeper of the vault, uphold the lie, and ensure that the prison remains sealed. 2. Destroy the Empire, release the primordials, bringing an end to imperial tyranny, but at the cost of unleashing entities beyond human comprehension. Elias had spent his life fighting the Empire, believing it to be an oppressive force built on lies. But now he saw the truth. The Empire was not simply a conqueror. It was a dam holding back a flood. And if that dam broke, the galaxy would drown. Epilogue. The Hidden War. Elias Vance was never seen again. Some believed he had been executed. Others whispered that he had taken the Emperor's offer, vanishing into the shadows to become part of the secret war that had raged for millennia. But on the fringes of the galaxy, where imperial control was weakest, there were signs, strange anomalies, whispers in the void, ruins that pulsed with an eerie light. Something was waking up, and soon, the Empire's greatest secret would no longer remain hidden. Prologue. The Hidden Hand. The Galactic Empire had ruled the known universe for over 1,000 years, its dominance unquestioned, its power absolute. The Imperial fleet spanned across 1,000,000 worlds, crushing any resistance with unrelenting precision. But what few ever dared to ask, what none had lived long enough to uncover, was the true source of the Empire's power. Legends spoke of divine right, of technology so advanced it bordered on the arcane, of an immortal ruler whispering commands from the shadows. The truth, however, was far more terrifying. And Draven Kale intended to expose it. Chapter 1. The Scholar's Gamble. Draven Kale was once an esteemed historian at the prestigious Obsidian Archive, the most renowned institution in the Empire. His research into ancient galactic civilizations had earned him both praise and quiet scrutiny from the Imperial Bureau of Knowledge. But when he stumbled upon inconsistencies in the records, gaps in history that spanned entire centuries, his curiosity turned into an obsession. He had spent years combing through restricted data cores, bribing officials, and decoding encrypted transmissions. Now, with the weight of forbidden knowledge pressing against his mind, Draven knew there was no turning back. The truth was too important. The Empire's power was not merely political or military. It was something deeper, something woven into the very fabric of existence. Chapter 2. The Forbidden Vault. Draven's journey led him to the Imperial capital, to the heart of the Empire itself, Zyphorian Prime. Beneath the surface of the glistening megacity, hidden from the eyes of trillions, lay the Vault of Eternity, a place spoken of in hushed whispers by exiled scholars and rogue AI. It was said that within its depths, the Empire's greatest secret was kept. With the help of an underground resistance cell, Draven infiltrated the vault. The security was unlike anything he had ever seen: biometric scans, psychic locks, and sentient sentries that whispered his darkest fears. But he pressed on. The truth was near. What he found shattered his understanding of reality. Chapter 3. The Entity. At the core of the vault, suspended in a field of crackling energy, was a being, the architect. Neither alive nor dead, it was something beyond time, beyond flesh. It was the source of the Empire's power. Draven accessed ancient records, fragments of knowledge dating back thousands of years. The architect had been discovered by the Empire's founders, a cosmic entity that granted unimaginable power in exchange for one thing: obedience. It was the architect that whispered strategies to emperors, that guided fleets to victory, that crushed rebellions before they could take root. Every ruler of the Galactic Empire had been a mere puppet, a vessel through which the architect exerted its will. But the cost of this power was horrifying. Every year, the Empire sacrificed entire worlds to the architect. Their people were not merely killed, they were erased, their existence devoured, their souls converted into raw energy to sustain the Empire's dominion. Draven felt his mind unravel. This was the reason history had so many gaps. The Empire was not merely rewriting history, it was consuming it. Chapter 4. The Revelation. Draven barely escaped the vault, his mind racing. He had uncovered the ultimate truth. The Empire's power was built on the annihilation of civilizations, on a cosmic entity that fed on the very essence of existence itself. But could he reveal it? As he transmitted his findings to the Resistance, something shifted in the fabric of reality. The architect knew, and it was coming for him. Epilogue. The price of truth. Draven Kale vanished that night. His name was erased from history. The Resistance cell that had aided him was wiped from existence. But before he disappeared, a single encrypted message was sent across the galaxy. The Empire's power is not its own. It is borrowed, and one day, the debt will be collected. The Galactic Empire endured, but cracks had begun to form. The truth had been spoken. And truth, once unleashed, could never be caged again.